Hello students, in this video we'll see an example of finding the coefficient of variation of a random variable. Let's suppose that x is a random variable with PDF. F of x is lambda x to the negative 4 plus x to the negative 5 if x is bigger than or equal to 1. Let's find the coefficient of variation of this random variable. By definition, the coefficient of variation is the ratio of the standard deviation to the mean. So the top is the standard deviation, and the bottom is the mean. That's the coefficient of variation. So the first thing we'll do is we'll find the parameter lambda. We know that 1 has to be the integral from 1 to infinity of lambda times x to the negative 4 plus x to the negative 5 dx. We know this is lambda. An antiderivative of x to the negative 4 is x to the negative 3 over negative 3. And then antiderivative of x to the negative 5 is x to the negative 4 over negative 4. When I plug in infinity to both these, we will get 0. When we plug in 1, we'll get a third plus a fourth. A third plus a fourth is 7 over 12. Therefore, lambda must be 12 over 7. And now we have our value of lambda. Now we'll find the mean. The mean of this random variable is the integral from 1 to infinity of lambda times x to the negative 4 plus x to the negative 5 dx, which is lambda. Then we'll do the antiderivatives of an x to the negative 3, antiderivative which is x to the negative 2 over negative 2. Then I'll have an x to the negative 4, which would be x to the negative 3 over negative 3 from infinity up to 1. And we say that this will be lambda times a half plus a third. A half plus a third is 5/6. So that's the mean. And so now we'll find the second moment. So the second moment is the expected value of x squared. And this is going to be the integral from 1 to infinity of lambda x squared, x to the negative 4 plus x to the negative 5 dx. And this will be lambda, and then we'll do the antiderivatives. Antiderivative of x to the negative 2 is x to the negative 1 over negative 1. And then antiderivative of x to the negative 3 is x to the negative 2 over negative 2 from 1 to infinity. This will be 1 plus a half, so this will be lambda times 1 plus a half is 3/2. And now that is the expected value of x squared. So the standard deviation, sigma squared, is the variance, which is the expected value of x squared minus the expected value of x, quantity squared. And so we see the expected value of x squared is going to be a lambda times 3/2. Minus the mean squared will be a minus lambda squared times 5/6. And so the square root of this will be equal to the standard deviation. And we'll divide that by the mean, which we know is lambda times 5/6. So the coefficient of variation for this problem will be equal to the square root of this quantity, which will be a lambda times 3/2 minus lambda squared times 5/6 over the mean, which we know to be lambda times 5/6. And now we can plug in the value of lambda and plug this into a calculator to find the exact decimal representation of this coefficient of variation. So to find the coefficient of variation, we find the mean, we find the standard deviation, and then we find the ratio of the standard deviation to the mean. Thank you very much.